All right, today we're working on Chapter 7, Section 6, which is solving two-step inequalities. All of these steps should look familiar. It's the same thing we've done before. Step 1, use the distributive property, then combine like terms, gather variables on one side, undo addition or subtraction, and last, undo multiplication or division. It's just because we're working with inequalities now, you have to be careful when you do step 5 that if you multiply or divide each side by a negative number, you have to reverse the inequality symbol. So this should look familiar here. We've already taken notes on this. Basically what I just said, if you multiply or divide each side of an inequality by a negative number, you reverse the direction of the inequality symbol. So let's do an example together. 2y minus 3 is less than negative 5. So go ahead and separate the two sides of your inequality. We're going to go through the 5 steps just like always. Step 1, use the distributive property. We can't do it. We don't have any parentheses, so skip it. Step 2, combine like terms. Well, 2y is a letter, 3 is a number, and there's nothing to combine on the right, so we don't need to do step 2. Step 3, we only have variables on the left, so we don't even need to gather them on one side, so skip it. Step 4, undo addition or subtraction. Since the y is on the left, that means we want to move the 3 first. It is a minus 3, so the inverse would be to add 3. And we want to do that on both sides. And then bring down the 2y. These cancel. We did not multiply or divide, so I'm going to keep the inequality sign the same. And then negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. And then step 5, undo multiplication or division. We have 2 times y, so the inverse would be to divide by 2. That way the 2's cancel. We have y by itself. We did divide here, but we did not divide by a negative, so my sign will stay the same. And then that's negative 1. So my answer is y is less than negative 1. Remember to go back and check your work though. So we think that y is less than negative 1. First I'm just going to plug in negative 1 in place of y and see if this is equal to negative 5. So this is negative 2 minus 3 would be negative 5. That is equal, so that's correct. Now we need to go back and check the inequality. We think that y is less than negative 1, so it could be negative 2, it could be negative 3, negative 4. I'll just do negative 2 to keep it easy. So instead of y, I'm plugging in negative 2, and I want to see if this side then will be less than negative 5. So this is negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. That is less than negative 5, so we did it correctly. All right, next example. Negative 9 is greater than negative 1/3 x plus 6. Separate your two sides. We do not need to do the distributive property because there's no parentheses. Like terms, there's none on the right, there's none on the left, so skip it. Variables to one side, we already have them on one side, so skip that. All the way down to step 4, undo addition or subtraction. We need to do that. The x is on the right, so I want to move the 6 first. It is a plus 6, so I'm going to subtract 6 on both sides. Negative 9 minus 6 is negative 15. We did not multiply or divide, so I'm just bringing down the sign and bringing down the negative 1/3 x. These cancel. And then step 5, undo multiplication or division. Be careful here. Ask yourself, how is the negative 1/3 attached to the x? It's attached with multiplication because when a number is directly next to a letter, it's implied that it's multiplication. So we need to divide by negative 1/3 in order to undo it. So then you can use a calculator for this. Negative 15 divided by negative 1/3 is positive 45. We divided, and yes, we divided by a negative number, so I need to flip the sign. These cancel and I have x by itself. Now that's fine to leave it that way, but typically you see the variable first. So let's put the x first, and since we're reversing the sentence, we also need to reverse the sign, so my answer is x is greater than 45. So let's check the answer. We think x is greater than 45. First, let's check if 45 is correct. Keeping everything the same except for the x, I'm plugging in 45, and we're going to see if that's equal to negative 9. So over here, negative 1/3 times 45 is negative 15. And then plus 6 is negative 9. The two sides are equal, so that's correct. Now we want to check the inequality sign. So I'm going to replace x this time with a number that's greater than 45, 46, 47, 48. I'm actually going to pick 48 because it's divisible by 3, and we'll talk about divisibility rules next week, and I'll show you how I knew that so fast. But I'm keeping everything else the same, except in place of x, I'm plugging in 48. And I want to see if negative 9 is greater than this. So negative 1/3 times 48 is 16, negative 16. And then plus 6 would be negative 10. Negative 9 is greater than negative 10, so it's correct. All right, last example. 6 minus x is greater than 3. Separate the two sides. Let's go through the steps quickly. No distributive property, no like terms, variables are on one side. So all the way down to step 4, undo addition or subtraction. Okay, x is on the left along with the 6. They're attached with subtraction, but I need to be careful. Am I adding or subtracting the 6? Well, the 6 is obviously positive because it's implied, so the opposite would be to subtract 6. And we need to do that on both sides. That way the 6's cancel. When you bring down the x, make sure you bring that minus with it because that's with the x, and it becomes negative x. We did not multiply or divide, so my sign stays the same, and then 3 minus 6 is negative 3. Done with step 4. Last step 5, undo multiplication or division. My x is still not by itself. There's a negative with it. And what is it really? It's really a negative 1. And the negative 1 is attached to the x with multiplication. So we will divide by negative 1 on both sides. That way these cancel and x becomes positive. Since we divided by a negative, I'm going to reverse the symbol. And negative 3 divided by negative 1 is positive 3. So we think that x is less than 3, so let's plug that in to check. X is less than 3. First of all, just plug in the 3 to see if this is equal to 3. Clearly it is. That was an easy one, so that's correct mathematically. Now let's check the inequality symbol. This time we want to pick a number that's less than 3. So 2, 1, 0, whatever you want to pick, we'll do 0. So 6 minus 0, we want to see if that's greater than 3. This is 6. This is obviously 3. 6 is greater than 3, so it's correct. All right, that's it for today. Bye, guys.